Ladies and gentlemen, it is 7 o'clock. I want to welcome you to the July 12th meeting of the Smithfield Town Council. If you will please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Scott will lead us in the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come tonight, Lord, to make decisions on behalf of this community that we live in, Lord. We call it home. We just ask that you continue to bless us and keep us safe here, Lord. We thank you for the men and women that work here and the leaders in this town. We ask that you be with our citizens, those that are sick and injured, not able to attend, Lord, or for whatever reasons, their vacation, and keep them safe. We ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
If you will please face the flag and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, you have the agenda before you. I do want to note that we are removing item 2 from the consent agenda at the request of the applicant. We are also removing item 9 from the consent agenda. Are there any other amendments?
You said 2 and 9?
2 and 9 from the consent agenda.
Okay.
Will they just being taken off?
Yes, sir. Are there any other changes to our agenda? There being none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous, Madam Clerk. At this time, I would like to, we have a special presentation. At this time, I'd like to ask Lieutenant Shepard and Officer Cook to come forward. I'd also like to ask Interim Chief Keith Powell if he will come stand with them. There's a lot being said about the men in blue in the media these days. Probably not enough is said about the great things they do. I want to take a minute and read a memorandum from Chief Powell to the Town Council. On January 30th, 2016 at 5:02 a.m., officers with the Smithfield Police Department responded to a house fire at 116 South 5th Street, which is next door to the police department. When officers arrived after being summoned by one of the residents, they saw heavy smoke coming from the residence. They were advised that people were still inside the burning house. Even though the house was consumed with heavy smoke, Lieutenant Shepard and Officer Cook entered the residence with no regard for their own personal safety to locate anyone still inside. Lieutenant Shepard and Officer Cook were able to locate Miss Helen Davis still inside the residence. After several attempts, were able to get her out of the residence unharmed. One other resident, Michael Davis, had been upstairs at the time of the fire, but no one was able to reach him due to the smoke and fire. Michael Davis was overcome by smoke and died in the fire. Lieutenant Shepard and Officer Cook's actions demonstrate the commitment and dedication to serve and protect the citizens of Smithfield. Police officers are often the first to arrive on a scene which are chaotic and dangerous, but they don't hesitate to take the challenge that lies before them. Their actions kept this situation from becoming a double tragedy that day for the family. We'd also like to remember the Smithfield Fire Department for their quick response and actions on that day. The Smithfield Police Department and the entire town of Smithfield takes great pride in acknowledging Lieutenant Shepard and Officer Cook for their unselfish actions on January 30th, 2016. I would like to present you each with a life-saving medallion. And thank you not only for this act of courage, but what you do every day. Y'all please join me in giving them a round of applause. Thanks, all. Thank you again. Is there anybody in the audience wanting to get their picture? If you want, we can get them to come back up here if you'd like to. Get a picture. Y'all good? Okay. We can certainly put them on the spot. We come now to the public hearing for tonight. We do have a public hearing. It is application number CUP 1604. Project name is Rod Productions. I would like to ask Paul Lindler to come forward, and if there's anybody in the audience who wants to speak on this matter, if you would stand up now. Do you want to speak on the public hearing?
Yes, you need to swear in.
You're fine.
You're fine.
Stay where you are.
You stand where you are right now. She'll need to swear you in, give you the oath for when you speak in a minute.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
We'll get to you in a minute. Mr. Embler, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. No. There is a proposal before the town council tonight to issue a conditional use permit for a performing arts recording studio located on the east side of Market Street, approximately 200 feet southeast of the intersection of Brightleaf Boulevard. The size of the lot is 0.14 acres, is currently zoned B2. There is a residence on the second floor of the building, which was permitted by the council several years ago. And the ground floor is B2 commercial, the upper floor is residential. And there is another property on the site, that 1.14 acres. It's a large white house. This lies in the block between Brightleaf Boulevard and the railroad. The property considered for approval contains a large residential structure which fronts 9th Street and a smaller building which fronts East Market Street. The smaller building contains a residential unit on the second floor, and the first floor will contain the requested recording studio. Parking is provided to the rear of the building. The parking to the rear of the building was established at the time that it was rezoned B3 commercial, and the residential unit was put upstairs, which was approximately 5 years ago. The proposed use that's under consideration tonight is a studio for audio and video recording of performing arts. There does not appear to be any environmentally sensitive issues associated with the request. The associated land uses to the north is B2. It's a drugstore. To the south, it's also B2, which is a commercial tanning salon. To the east is residential, which is where the big white house is. And to the west is B2 business, which is the funeral home. This is consistent with the strategic growth plan for the town of Smithfield because it recognizes this area to be a commercial use. It's consistent with the Unified Development Code when permitted in accordance with the code, and they obtain a conditional use permit. And a recording studio at this location should not pose any compatibility issues with surrounding land uses, provided all noise ordinances are adhered to. Any signs associated with the building will be permitted separately through the planning department. The town will provide fire, water and sewer and electrical to the property. The planning department's recommendation on this was to approve it for a conditional use permit. The planning board at its June 2nd meeting considered it and voted unanimously to recommend approval with the one condition set upon it, that the hours of operation be set from 12 noon to 9 p.m. The town council is now requested to review the petition and make a decision, and that is the conclusion of the staff presentation. If you have any questions, I stand to answer those for you.
Mr. Ember, we need to open the public hearing. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Mr. Emler, do you incorporate and adopt everything you just said under oath as your testimony in this hearing?
I do so. I apologize. I should have looked up and looked at the mayor pro tem to get a hint that I was probably too quick.
I normally have to do that to the mayor, so, but, is there any, the applicant, is there any, do you agree with everything he said?
Yes, I
Is there anything you'd like to add?
appreciate that I get the opportunity to operate.
I have one question for the applicant.
We have him step up to the microphone. Yeah.
How's it going?
Okay. Sir, I'm sure you've already done this. If I understood Mr. Emmerle correctly, there's a resident lives on the top floor.
Yes, as a student, supposedly we will be going to school. I talked with him previously about, what I might be trying to do, and we kind of just talked. And he said if it ever get noisy, just let him know. But I don't really feel that it'll be noisy enough where it'll bother him.
I just want to make sure we're not going to impact that resident in a negative manner, so as far as his lifestyle or his or her lifestyle.
Yeah, we spoke previously. Just to kind of like familiarize with each other.
Right. Okay. Well, I appreciate you doing that. Thank you. That's the only question I have.
Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant?
The only other question, Mayor Pro Tem, I have, I'd like to ask the applicant, and I was looking through the planning board minutes prior to tonight, and there was a discussion about the times. Is the times that they've identified, I guess it's more for Mr. Endler, is that going to restrict him to just those times, or he can operate within those times as he likes?
No, actually, I like the times. The time is kind of good. It's not too early, not too late. I feel like 12 to 9 is good. Give people, instead of giving people a time to get up early enough to get there. So I think 12 to 9 is good for me. So I don't have no problem with 12 to 9.
Yeah, so that's not going to restrict you if you want to go there and do
Oh,
other things.
Yeah, like
You're allowed to do
prep,
that. You
like
just
prep or
can't-
something. Yeah, something
You're
like
not-
prep,
Sir?
like the prep on the off
Sure,
hour.
but you're
Yeah.
just not allowed to, from what I'm understanding, the 12 to 9 is allowing you to perform.
Yeah.
or
Operate. Yeah.
Okay, record.
I just got one. Just looking at the comments from the planning meeting. Has there been any discussion with the funeral home, like right beside it? I know there's a funeral
Yes,
home.
Mr. Hugh. Mr. Hugh is kind of like father. It's kind of like a little driveway in between the buildings, so the noise wouldn't bother him. And I really don't feel like it'll be that loud to where it'll either bother him. But I also was told that I know he have like wakes and services, so being business friendly, I got to understand that. And sometimes I can just do other things, leave. Don't really have to operate during the hours that he actually have like sessions going on as far as like family issues with funerals and wakes. So I can just probably get with him and we can just come to an understanding about not really being in the way of his operation, doing the funeral services.
Any others? Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Emler? To clarify, Mr. Sanders was notified of all these hearings
Yes.
as adjoining property.
Yes, yes.
We send written notices as well as public advertisements in the newspaper.
Yeah, yeah, and I get copies in the mail too, so they did a good job, kind of, Appreciate it.
If there are no further questions from, you good, everybody good? All right, if there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any other discussion by the council? We have findings of fact located on page 13. We have 4 findings of fact. We can go through them 1 through 4.
Make a motion. I make a motion.
Finding fact 1 through 4.
I second.
Motion and a second to find approval for findings of fact 1 through 4. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous? That being,
I'll make a motion, we approve the request.
have a motion to approve the request.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Once again, unanimous, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
And with clarification, that's with the stipulation of the condition the planning board recommended.
Yes.
Okay. When the citizens' comments come up. So I'll just stay.
At this point, we come to the agenda for citizens' comments, where the citizens can come and speak to the council. We do ask that all comments be limited to 3 minutes. When you do come up, please state your name and address for the clerk so she can record your presence here. So open it up, Mr. Embler.
Due to the submittal time frame for the request that I'm going to present to you right now, it normally would have been put on the consent agenda, but due to the timing of the event and the timing of the change of the council meeting, we were not able to do that. So what I'd like to present to you, that the Greater Vision Worship Center of Smithfield on July the 31st requests the town council to approve a community day and a worship service at the Smith Collins Park. It would be the Greater Vision Worship Center has done similar activities in the past, but they were separate activities. I believe this is the first year that they've been combined with the church service as well as the community day service there. Their proposal is to have a tent there, to have the worship service in the morning, and then after the worship service is over, they will have a bounce house there, cotton candy, snow cones, things for the children. There'll be a clown there, and the event will wrap up around 3 o'clock. And there is a representative of Greater Vision Worship Center here tonight, and she's here to answer any questions you might have that I didn't explain. So.
Would you like to say anything, ma'am? Can you come up and state your name and address? Don't mean to put you on the spot.
So, I am Karen Villa, and I attend Greater Vision Worship Center. And actually, I'm leader over this project that we're gonna have. The idea would be to, after we have a short service, we're going straight into a picnic for the church and the community. We're gonna have free food, a full meal. We're gonna have bounce house, a water slide, water games and activities for the kids. Nothing will be sold, everything will be free. We're gonna reach out and just have a fun day. We have the works, cotton candy, snow cone machines, another machine that makes candy for the kids. Anything that, it's just gonna be a fun day.
Y'all have any questions? It's not on because of the timing of the agenda. It did not get the consent agenda, but what's the pleasure of the council? Is that a motion to approve?
Absolutely.
In a second?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank
Wish you
you.
great success.
Thank you so much.
Any other citizen comments? Come on up.
I'm Antoine Williams, I live at 6 Cedar, and my question is, I noticed that they're doing some construction over by Waffle House, right off of Old Goldsboro Road and 70. Is there any kind of barriers that's going to be put up so that noise from the business that's being built or control parking so they don't come over into that neighborhood? Has that been planned out or anything like that?
We will ask Mr. Embler to address those questions.
Okay.
The business that's going in there is Kobe Steakhouse. And it's a right by use within the district, and it was permitted administratively through the department. The landscape plan that was submitted meets all the requirements, of which there will be some buffering with landscape material on all four sides of the property, not just Goldsboro's side, but also in their service area of the restaurant itself. There'll be a screen wall there that will conceal the service area to the restaurant. And that's going to be of, not sure of the material, but it would have to be of a solid construction of either brick or wood.
So what's going to be the buffer along Old Goldsboro Road?
It will be a combination where it's adjacent to the parking lot. It's landscaping that has to be less than 30 inches in height, obviously, so people can see over the top of it for traffic. As it gets at the building toward the rear, the plant material gets higher, and I think the plan has Foster hollies on it, which are going to get to a material height of 15 to 20 feet with a spread of about 8 feet. So there'll be a fairly solid screen. And then the plants that are between the Kobe Steakhouse and the Waffle House are lower and not as tall.
Okay. Since it was done administratively, I haven't seen a site plan.
I'll be glad to go run copies of it and provide it for you for your reference.
Has there been any communication? I know there's a residence like right behind the location. Are they even aware of what's going on at that location?
I haven't been contacted by anybody for that. I mean, other than Mr. Nixon and I believe you asking questions are the only two that I've had comments from.
Sir, would you like a copy of the site plan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll be glad to get that. Would the council also like a copy of it?
Sure, yes, sir.
Okay, I'll go run them and I'll be back in a few minutes. Is that all the questions you have right now? Okay.
Any other citizen comments? Come on up, sir.
How y'all doing? My name is Mike Red. I was here the last time to speak to you about Smith Collins Park. I was out of the country the last time you had the meeting on East Smithfield, and I'm kind of surprised when I got back and heard that $27,000 was spent in Smith Collins Park. I can't see it nowhere. I even went over there the other day to look and see what was changed in the last 2 weeks. I can't see $27,000 being spent in Smith Collins Park, not even in the bathrooms and the playground equipment. So I'd like to see, like, can you tell me where it was spent at besides the bathrooms and the playground equipment? That's a mighty expensive bathroom and playground equipment for $27,000.
Sir, I'd be more than happy to provide you with we have a spreadsheet of all the maintenance that's been done at Smith Collins Park in the last 8 years.
No, I would like for you to tell the public where it's spent at. I mean, because it's...
I don't have it here in front of me,
Okay,
but I'll be
all right,
glad to
okay.
provide you with a copy of that, and you can
Okay.
provide it to whoever you like.
I sure will, because I definitely like to see that. It's not there, and I know for a fact it's not there. Somebody's wandering, it can't be there. No way. Okay,
I'll be more than happy to provide it to you.
okay. I wish Mr. Scott was here, if I can talk to him, but he's not here tonight. But I will definitely come by your office, get it
No problem.
down manager. Okay, thank you very much.
Make sure, Madam Clerk, did you get his address as well? So you can email to
Your
him?
actual address,
Yeah,
not Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay, it's 3433 Dutchman Road. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to make some clarification kind of to what he was saying, because I myself had some questions, and it's even on this graph that was given, I guess but I guess it was going back to 2007 that it's saying that $124,000, 648 cents was spent, and that's definitely, I want to see that myself. I think, I know that's what was stated at the meeting tonight. Since 2007, we got 124,000, so if we can definitely find that, I would love to see that myself, but I think the numbers were kind of mixed up with 27,000. That's all I had to say.
Any other citizen comments? We'll move down to the, we got one more?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Faux Mayor. Hope you're doing well. Tim Johnson, 1206 South Walnut Drive. First, I'd like to thank Manager Mike Scott and the council for setting up the meeting at East Smithfield. It's the first one I attended. It was greatly attended. It looked like people from all over town. And it brought back the memory to me of when several years ago, probably 6 or 8 years ago, Mayor Evans scheduled meetings in all 4 districts, and I'm not sure about the other districts, but I would love to see a meeting like that in my district, South Smithfield District, and I'm sure the other districts would like to see that too. I think it's a great idea. You get community input, and you're giving folks a chance to voice their opinions, concerns, and you get to hear it straight from them instead of she said or he said. So just like to encourage you, if you would, over the next few months to try to do that. On the parks, it won't be hard to find what's been spent in my district at the J.C. Kitty Park on 2nd Street, because the last time any money was spent there was in 1999, and so that's been 16, 17 years ago. And when that happened, actually that revitalization renovation happened because people in the community formed an organization committee, and they went out to businesses and raised about $15,000. I think the town put in $15,000 or $20,000. And so anyway, that was the last time anything was done to that. And I do applaud you and thank you for, in Mr. Wood's district, I know that park is up this year, Johnson Park, because it's even older. I think it's been at least 20 years ago because I helped do it. So I encourage you also on that to possibly have a plan, continue with plans to go down a priority list and make all the parks better. They all need help, and just like everything else, there's not enough money, I understand that, but I think it's a great idea to have a plan, know where we're going, kind of what's up next. And one of the tools in a Recreation Advisory Committee meeting we recently had with Manager Scott, one of the ideas in that came up was to have Parks and Recreation revise their master plan. A master plan was done in 2009. It's a system-wide plan that tells you what needs to be done in all the parks, what future needs are, and that can change, obviously. It changes over the years. And so one suggestion that came out of that meeting, and not officially at this point, I guess, from the advisory committee, was to revise that plan, which could be done probably fairly inexpensively, but then that gives you a planning tool to go by and to look at the steps that need. And again, you don't have to do exactly what it says, but it gives you something to go by. So I'd encourage you to maybe look into that, and maybe Mr. Johnson could look into that and see if that's a viable option for the council.
Tim, are you on the Recreation Advisory Committee?
I am, yep.
How many members do you have?
Active, it's hard to tell because every month I think they're 10.
Is each district, is the representation fairly equal from each district?
I would say so. I mean, you kind of, you get who applies, but I'm pretty sure there's somebody from each district.
There's somebody from District 4, I can assure you that.
Yeah. Mr.
How often do y'all meet?
Every other month.
We meet monthly until the summer, then every other month during the summer.
Well, I mean, I'm not the mayor, but I think it's important that the committees be active, remain active, and have a cross-section of our community, and really can provide some insight to the council as to the needs of the community, in addition to what we do to stay abreast of the desires of the community. It would be helpful if the committees were active and sort of reached out further into the community. So I appreciate what y'all do on the advisory committee. Look forward to hearing reports and progress made on the committee to help us make decisions.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other citizen comments? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. We've had the consent agenda for a week now. Y'all have had a chance to review it. Do we have a motion? Remember, items 2 and 9 are no longer on there. Glad to entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
Yes, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as is with the deletion of 2 and 3.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Madam Clerk, unanimous. Moving to the business items on the agenda. Item number 1, consideration and approval of resolution number 590, conveyance of surplus property to the town of Wilson Mills. I'll ask, Mr. Powell's already up here, so
Get it over with.
we'll hear from you.
I was approached by the chief of Wilson Mills. They're trying to start their canine program. Don't have it in their budget. They've actually done some fundraisers trying to raise money. And we were fortunate enough to get 2 new canine SUVs. The cages that we used in our Impalas didn't work, so we had to buy new ones. Looking around, there's one on govdeals.com. The only one I found today was on eBay, and it was for Crown Vic, and it was $295 or best offer. So I was asking the town to consider giving the canine cages that we currently have to Wilson Mills to use for their program.
Any questions?
Mayor Pro Tem, I had actually spoken with the mayor of Wilson Mills and talked to him about this program, and they've reached out to other communities as well, and their budget is a lot smaller than, other municipalities, and they really have an interest to make this program work, and I think it's a great opportunity for this city to help them. Obviously, it's something we're not even going to use. I make a motion, we approve the request.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Item number 2, bid award to T&D Solutions for the installation of the additional transformer at the Brogdon Road substation in the amount of $181,111. Mr. Cradle.
Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Just going to explain this, what the item of business is. As we're all aware, the second transformer was approved previously. It's on the way. It'll be here, the last we heard was the end of August, the 25th. So we need somebody to put it in. So we entertained bids for the installation of this. The bids were received on June 28th. The low bidder was T&D Solutions. You see the bid tab that we have. We only had 2 bidders, but the important number is, because we don't expect them to buy the stuff. That part of the bid was if you also bought the transformer. We had previously bought it. But that should be in your packet as well. The 181 number was the low bid. Just kind of as an overview, that is the Brogdon substation. The existing transformer is the big box in the middle. And all we're going to do with the second transformer is mimic that or match that over there where the red box is. So in order to get that done, some preparation work needs to be done. And what you'll see is the existing and where it's going to go. So the concrete base has to be poured, the grounding wires have to be put in, the circuits have to be run. And then what's hard to see in the picture is the grating on top of the concrete. It's actually a containment system in case there's an oil leak or something of that nature, so it doesn't disturb the environment, so we can catch it. But I'm just trying to explain that that's what we're doing. For $181,000, they're going to come in there and start as quick as they can and get it done basically in a month. And any questions you might have, I'll be happy to try and answer them for you.
Any questions?
What was the original thought on the cost of this?
I wasn't around in the original call, but it is within budget, that I can tell you. I don't know the original estimate.
I just wondered.
Mr. Credo, on the T&D company that you've got the low bid here, have they done any work for the town before?
T&D, yes, I don't know off the top of my head, I can find that for you if you wish, but I know they have. I see their name as a vendor, it's already been approved of the town, so I know at some point they've done work before.
The other question I would have is considering the value of that piece of equipment, in the event something happened during the install, or they will be bonded to protect that asset of the town?
Yes, that was part of the bid,
Thank you.
yes.
So you had 8 bids and only 2 of them came back, is that correct?
We had a pre-bid meeting and there were 8 attendees and only 2 submitted bids. Anyone's guess as to why, but my guess would be the short time frame in which we got to get it done.
Any further questions or discussion?
He's talked to us quite a bit about this in the past. This is coming out of this current budget, correct? And you're going to start the work?
There was a capital project budget set aside, it comes out of that.
Anything else? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the bid of the transformer installation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 3, bid award to Lex and Associates for the purchase of the relay cabinet at the Brogdon Road substation in the amount of $34,082. Ted, you're just spending money, asking us to spend money.
Yes, sir.
We'll hear from you.
Well, the good news is this is the final piece of equipment that we will be buying, and it also is included in the installation bid that you just approved. So we won't need to have anything else. But again, it's the same thing. This is the control cabinet. We need the relay for this, get the circuits flowing through the transformer. So bids were received on May 26th. The low bidder was Lexan. And again, you see the bid tab there. It was fairly well grouped, which is a good sign, but they were the low bid at 34 or just over. And this is, and I wanted to give you a picture of what the relay cabinet really was, because you say cabinet and a lot of people get a picture of your kitchen cabinet, and that's $35,000 is pretty expensive, but for the control cabinet, it's the front and the back, essentially, once the doors are opened. And it's the exact same model, just like we're doing with the transformer. We're using that model cabinet in that empty hole that you now see. That's where it's going to go. And the same, as I said, the T&D will be installing that as well. So if you have any questions about that.
Council? Any questions or any motions?
So there was 3 different bids on that as well?
Yes, sir.
Have you had the opportunity to use this company before? Are you
Lexan I've not used before, but with the builder's warranty or manufacturer's warranty, we should be good for a while.
I'll make a motion, we approve the bid to Less and Associates for the purchase of the relay cabinet.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Item number 4, Downtown Smithfield Development Corporation request to refinance streetscape loan for a lower interest rate payment and consider alternative options on arrears. I'll call on interim town manager, Mr. Jim
I don't think so.
Freeman.
I think you need to take that title away from me.
Well, I mean, you're still on the hook.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This is a two-part presentation. I'll be speaking about the first part, and the second part will get into the questions that were raised, I believe, in the May meeting and a little bit before that in terms of the payment of the loan. And somehow this has all got tied together with the downtown streetscape project, which started in early 2001. And as you see in some of the agenda items in the memorandum that I gave you, you probably didn't see the background and all that, but we were asking to bring it to some kind of a conclusion of what took place, what happened. So, Greg and myself, we went ahead and divided this project up in two parts. One, of course, is researching what happened from before in the old records, since this has been closed out 208, 209. We didn't have all that to begin with. And then secondly, about the loan portion. Greg will speak a little bit about the loan and get some action from the board, how they want to treat that. I'm not going to go and read this. I think you have a copy of that already but I will just, for the public's purposes on that, just kind of summarize and highlight it and tell you some highlights on it. One, this is a project that I think was started in the early 2001, 2002. This, got to give credit to the Downtown Association that helped start this project. I know Sarah wasn't aboard at that time. But there was a partnership with the town to go ahead and do something with the downtown. They initiated, they pushed the project through. They were very fortunate, as you saw in the memorandum, and were able to get a North Carolina DOT enhancement agreement for X amount of dollars, I believe $200 and some thousand to help pay for the project. As the project went along, they kind of saw they needed a little bit more money. As part of the partnership in there's some records in regards that the town contributed somewhere around 62,000 towards that project. However, as the project progressed along the way, it came, I think, in somewhere around 205, 206, that it was getting a little bit expensive, you might say, and so there was some ways that the downtown was looking for in securing a loan to help pay for financing the project since they initiated. Somehow, and none of these people here were part of that, and I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but somehow during that period of time, the town took control of the project. They had to take control of the project because there's some documentation in regards to that. The downtown said, well, maybe we can help by going for the USDA loan because that was like 4.25%, where I won't even name the bank. They had a loan for 7-point-some%. As they went progressing this, it was found out that USDA could not, and through their eligibility, loan that money for this project to downtown. Therefore, the town had to be the recipient of this and had to administrate it and everything. From that point on, I'm very comfortable in terms of the record research and that things were done right and the project was properly closed out. It may have been done right prior to that, but I can't find records to document everything that took place at that time. When USDA took over, I think the town did a wonderful job and followed USDA's rules in regarding what was eligible to be spent, how the money should have been spent, and let's redo this whole project budget. And they gave a project budget in there and where the funds were. Project on the sideline, because of the delays, the DOT grant had to be, project had to be extended. One, the downtown got an extension of time of construction, then when the town took over, they also got it. So as this project moved forward, they found out that the town had applied, the Downtown Improvements Association, Downtown Association, did a lot of the legwork, helped the town in doing this. As they got closer into actually bidding this project out, what had happened is through their engineering, they thought they saw before the actual bid went out that the project was going to, because of some concrete cost, you might say, was going to be even higher than what they had when they had estimated. So what did they do at that? They asked for an amendment from DOT and from USDA and that, and they thought they had it. And they got the approval for the extension, and they got approval for, I think, the contract, and DOT was extended a little bit as it was closed out. And what had happened is in January of 2000, I forgot the exact, 2006, somewhere in there, when the bids came back, the project was too high, still higher. So they had to go back and relook at it again and do some changes, which they properly did. And rebid the project, and there's minutes documenting that was presented back and rebid and got it within the project scope. The project, as part of that project, as part of the audit and closeout procedures, certain eligible items were to be paid with DOT funds, certain eligible items were to be paid with USDA funds. Now, there was a lot of other items, you might say, that were ineligible that went back. For instance, it's correspondence from USDA stating that that anything prior to the award of that, like engineering fees, design, et cetera, for this project, no USDA money could have been used for it. The town acknowledged that, and so they, through their contribution, and I believe through contributions of the downtown people, they helped pick up that, and their loan that they obtained in their name, not the town's name, they helped take care of those costs. When this project was finally closed out back in, I believe, 2007, 2008, there had to be a little bit of extra money that came through. So what actually came out, the town's contribution of this project went up from 65 to 79,327, and the NCDOT, of course, gave another 245 to 250,000. Everything else was taken care of. There's no record of findings that everything was done wrong or ineligible from DOT and that. So I am very comfortable from that point on that the town was in very good shape. The thing has been managed right. It's accounted for right. Now, we lead into Greg's presentation in regards to there was some understanding, as some of you may know, that because to help things along, the DOT loan, well, we were going to pay for the debt servicing of the USDA money. That's where this loan comes over a certain period of time, and something went out array, and I think in a couple months ago, I don't know, during my tenure, Sarah came to me and we met with Greg and found out that some payments were missed and got back to the board, and Greg had already closed his project out. I'll stop there if you have questions up to that point, and then we'll give it over to Greg to talk about now the loan portion and what's some action that needs to be taken.
Any questions for Mr. Freeman at this time?
You know how many phases, phases were complete?
Excuse me?
You know how many, there was maybe 3 phases, do you know if all 3 phases were completed?
I think there's, the last phase, I don't think, because there's a minutes, I referenced that in there, you don't have the attachment, but I referenced in there a minutes that were taken about it going along 3rd Street for approximately $60,000, $80,000 more, and they saw how they were going to pay it. I think downtown was going to come up with some money for that if they couldn't get the USDA done. And what happened, they said, let's go back, there's some minutes let's go back and visit it. I personally talked to Pete Conant, who was the manager at that time, and he said, Jim, he said, never came back, we never brought it back. So that portion was not finished.
Jim, there may be some questions for you in a little bit, so hang around.
I'm here. Okay.
Greg?
Okay, so in 2006, the town borrowed $250,000 on behalf of the streetscape project, with annual payments of $15,125 at a rate of 4.375% over a 30-year term. USDA is one of the few avenues that governments can go to get such an extended term. The town, since the loan was taken out, has made 9 timely payments. We've been reimbursed for 6, and that's where the issue has come about. The payment was skipped for 3 years, and that was in part just a misunderstanding of what the board actually signed off on back in 2012. Just to review, in 2012, Downtown Smithfield Development Corporation came to the town and asked that 3 years of payments be forgiven in exchange for improvements to the Hastings House. Instead of the request being granted as asked, the board at that time decided to defer one payment, and by defer I mean move it to the end of the loan, and deferred 1 as opposed to skipping 3. The corporation walked away thinking that their request was approved. And this came to light last year when they made their payment of $15,000, and I began to research this to see why payments hadn't been received in prior years of my tenure.
So Greg, so the agreement was to defer one payment, but the downtown development walked away thinking they were gonna skip 3 years? How can that be? And I know we're talking about the past here, but how can that be any question of that? I asked this my question to the downtown development, whoever.
Yeah.
That just doesn't.
The only thing we have to refer back to at this time.
Sure, I understand, the
notes
remittance,
that
I
have
get
been
that,
made.
I understand. I just didn't know if you had dug that deep to figure out really what's going on. That didn't make any sense.
Okay. What was just conveyed to me was the request was made at one meeting, and it was deferred into the following meeting. I don't know if it was immediately.
So what was the result of the following meeting? Exactly what we just said? To defer one payment?
Yes.
Well, there was some issue too as to the funds being used to renovate the Hastings house. And it was a question of funds, instead of funds being paid to DSDC and then DSD turn around and paying the loan. The discussion is why don't the town just use that money instead of giving it to the DSDC to pay? Why don't they just pay it? It's the same money. And my memory is not all that clear, but that was part of the discussion. And part of the discussion was the 3-year deferral, because it was going to be approximately $45,000 spent on the Hastings house. And from my memory was the council wanted to defer the 3 years, but we said, let's do one, let's talk about it again next year. And it never came back. That is my recollection. But that is not what the minutes reflect.
Mr. Siler, just for clarification, the $15,000 was annual payments.
That's correct.
You said 3 of them, but also, this debt has been settled. The town's paid it off, am I correct?
Right.
Based on research.
Unbeknownst to me at the time, I wasn't aware that this money was borrowed on behalf of DSDC. And so when the opportunity presented itself, because we could not refinance this loan, once you take out a loan with USDA, you are locked in for 30 years. Your only out is to pay it off. And so when we had the funds due to surplus over the past couple of years, I brought it to the board to pay this one of our higher, 2 of our higher interest-bearing loans off. And so that was done.
So the real question, or the real fact here is, we still have the request from DSDC to forgive the payments because they owe that to the town.
Well, they have actually made 3 recommendations.
Okay.
And if you look at page 156 of your agenda, their first option that they mentioned is to forgive the 2 payments. I say 2 because the board at that time agreed to defer 1. So technically, they've only missed 2 payments. So that is option 1. The option 2 is to defer the other 2 payments to the end of the loan so that they don't have to pay lump sum, but the loan indeed would be for remaining 24 years, as opposed to 9 payments made, 21 years left. And option 3 is to have DSDC pay the missed payment, but then have us refinance the loan so that their annual payment is less than $15,000 at current rates of interest. And so they have offered 3 options. My recommendation, after having spoken with them and to find out if indeed if they had the funds available to catch up on the payments, and Sarah indicated that they did. My option then was to take that principal balance and refinance it at 2.75%. I got that rate of interest today from USDA. If they were doing this loan today, that's the rate they would charge. So that's a significant drop from the 4.375. Continue on a 24-year term. Their annual payment would then drop from $15,125 to $12,775. That's a $2,300 a year savings. If you do that over the life, they actually end up making up for any losses, but it's done over an extended period. So by going with option number 3, long-term, it's better for them. They end up saving $56,000. So those were the 3 options that they brought to us. I thought I would pass all 3 options on to you. My recommendation is to go with option 3.
In your research, did the town of Smithfield withhold funds from DSS to make those payments that are now deemed missed?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
Did the town withhold them that first year that we deferred?
I can go back and look to see what payments we made to them. They've been pretty consistent over the years.
Sarah, do you know?
So the town gives the DSCC equal checks every month for a certain dollar amount, and that has not changed since that dollar amount was reduced about 3 years ago when the town took over economic development for the whole town again, which the DSTC had previously done. So that rate has remained the same. And what I can tell you all is the work that was done at the Hastings House in some cases had to happen. There was no choice. When they started getting into the porch repairs, they realized that we were pretty close from the porch falling in completely. The window work that was done, the restoration work, did not have to be done, although there were several broken panes. The windows have been screwed shut. They were not at all functional. So those have now been restored to condition that they would have been when the house was originally built. And then the exterior was painted, which was badly needed. The money would not have been spent by the DSDC had the understanding been that the town, had the understanding not been that the town would forgive the payments. And that was purely a misunderstanding on the part of the previous director. So I hope that answers some questions. But the DSDC has received its annual funding from the town, just like normal for the past 3 years, essentially, since the payments have been missed.
Do y'all have any questions of Sarah?
Yeah, I do. Sarah, understanding that this is an agreement that's presented between Town of Smithfield and the DSDC, those terms, obviously it's saving $56,000, so you guys can, obviously it was a miscommunication, but I still feel that they're responsible for paying the town back.
Sure.
Is those terms agreeable by your board?
I think we can definitely work within those terms, certainly.
Because if you look at it, you really saved it over a long period of time. You saved more than what the 3 years were.
Sure. Well,
so if that can't be worked out, then
no,
you're
I
just
think
gonna pay it all back.
I think it can definitely be worked out.
I mean, I'm not being ugly, but now we're doing you a favor.
I understand, and I appreciate the council being able to work with us. I know that the money would not have been spent in advance if it were not for a misunderstanding. So I appreciate y'all being willing to work with
That's
us,
what
for
I'm saying.
sure.
We're actually helping you, and it was
Very much so.
more managed on the director before you.
So it's a win-win for the town. I think option 3 reduces their annual payment over the life of the loan. They save more than the project cost them, and it's a good return for the town on today's money. We get nothing like this from the banks today. Mind you, this loan's for 24 years. What rates will be like 15 years down the road is anyone's guess, but it's an excellent rate of return for the town today. And I imagine over time, we'll pretty much balance out.
Now, will that rate change, or is that a straight fixed rate?
I intend for it to be a fixed rate.
Any further questions of either Sarah or Greg on this?
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to entertain a motion that we approve option 3, have Finance Director draft up the agreement with the attorney, and have it official with the SDC and on behalf of the town.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that?
Would, in fact, well, I was, but I do have a question. Should that come back before council, or you? I mean, that's a question to you, Greg.
The contract itself, I can certainly do that. We can
Oh,
give you a chance to review the contract, which will be put together.
I mean, the
by
terms
Bob.
are there. I'm not saying, I don't think we need to, I don't need to see it again as long as Mike, Bob, and yourself have reviewed it and agreed upon the terms we have there. I don't necessarily have to see it. Now, I'm not sure what the other council members believe or think.
Flip back to your recommendation, Greg. Your motion includes those terms, right?
Correct. He said that's option 3. I don't think it's titled that, but.
Right.
Well, the refinance option is what you're referring to. in the-
Right. That principal balance, that interest rate, that term, those annual payments.
In my opinion, if the terms are exactly written on the spreadsheet there, it does not need to come back before council, in my opinion. And I would take Greg and Mike,
When was the loan?
Bob's integrity to do that.
The original loan? The original loan was
In 2006.
So we still owe 221 out of 250, we've been paying on it for?
Well, when we paid it off, we actually paid off 205,000.
Okay, all right.
Because we had made the missed payments.
Okay,
They
all right.
could not be skipped.
Okay.
Without
All right.
affecting the town's credit.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Sarah. Item number 5 on the business agenda, consideration and approval to purchase property located at 116 South Fifth Street. Town Manager Mike Scott, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. At last month's meeting in June, we discussed the possibility, and staff was giving the authority to go negotiate the possibility of purchasing the property at 116 South Fifth Street here in Smithfield. To remind the council, that property sits right next to the police department. The town owns, obviously, the police department, as well as the lot on what would be the opposite side of 116 South Fifth. So this is like an island of property that sits in between property that we own. It was our belief that by purchasing this property, we would then own basically 3 lots in a row there for future expansion or future parking or whatever the town deemed necessary to do with the property at a future time. It also backs up to the parking lot that is adjacent to the fire department. So if we wanted to extend that parking lot at any given time alongside the fire department, we would need this lot to do so. Staff has discussed this with the property owner. They have agreed to sell the town the property for a cost of $25,000. On the property sits the house that was burned out, as well as a garage outbuilding. We will have to demolish those buildings. It's difficult to say. We estimate that to be between $8,000 and $10,000 to do. There is money available to do that. The police department has in its budget $35,000 to match a grant for its traffic program. We received notice this week that that grant was not awarded to the town. In front of you, in part of my report, you have that document, manager's report for the month. Basically, the state said it is not awarding grants to any new grantees this year. They're only financing existing grants, which is why we didn't receive the money. So as part of this process, we're asking for the council to allow us to purchase the property for $25,000, allow us to take bids to demolish the property, and also incorporated in that is a budget amendment to move that money from the police department line item for the grant into a capital improvement or a capital item to purchase the property and demolish the buildings.
Any environmental concerns with the property?
Not that we are aware of. Bob, do you have anything to add?
No old oil tank,
But we-
underground or underground?
I don't know if we've had it soil tested. We hadn't had it soil tested. The principal characteristics of property is this location. If you don't buy it now, you don't have it. That's right.
Any questions?
What kind of time frame would it be before you tear it down if you do buy it?
Relatively quickly, just as fast as the contractor could get in there, but we want to take bids, so that'll take a little time. But we'd want to get it down as quickly as possible.
I'd like to entertain and make a motion that we purchase the property at 116 South Fifth.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion on the
I
motion?
do have one question I'd like to ask. Manager, the $25,000, was that negotiable in any way? Considering the house is totally burned.
We negotiated as best we could with the property owner. They had another offer for that amount. They weren't willing to move from that amount. They felt they could sell it to another person interested in the property for that amount. So that's as good as we could do with them.
Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Well, I would like to add that budget amendment part of the motion. If we need to make another one.
We have another motion. I can make the motion I'm a council member. I can still make a motion. I move we adopt the budget amendment transferring the existing $35,000 in the budget to the capital outlay for the purchase.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor.
Good work.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think it's important that we also acknowledge that, there was a life loss there, and this will give the family some closure in that situation.
Well said. Uh-oh.
Little early.
Well.
Good evening. We want to move on pretty fast.
Hey, Mayor, how you doing?
Keep going, please. Pace was going good.
Next on the agenda are councilman comments. Any councilman have any comments for the good?
Yeah, I just got a couple of comments, just actually a few condolences to a couple of families that had ties to the town. First, Mr. James Holder, 91 years old. He was a retired town employee. He passed away, and actually he lived on East Street. And his family is actually the family that was, they wanted to show gratitude to the town for also cleaning up that ditch behind Furlong. It was their family that lived there. I think he's going to be funeralized tomorrow, but he's 91 years old. Also, Miss Nezzie Sanders, who was called Granny, lived on Blunt Street. Anytime, if you ever rode down Blunt Street, she kept her yard full, and she definitely, fed a lot of people. She fussed out a lot of people, but she was Granny, so she's gonna be funeralized on Saturday. And last, Mr. Ronald Potts, who was a basketball teammate of mine, and I know we see some fellow Spartans in here who was all at Triple S at the same time. He got shot and killed in Fayetteville, and he was a business owner right uptown. What street was that, Lenny?
Bridge.
Yeah, on Bridge Street. Had a detail shot, and he got shot and killed Saturday night, early Sunday morning. So just definitely want to send out condolences, to all the families and stuff. So everyone, please keep them in the prayers. Just want to give a thank you to Mike Scott for hosting the meeting about a week ago over at JCC in reference to, Smith Collins Park, East Smithfield, and thanks to everybody that, took the time out and showed up. And, hopefully we'll build off that. And even as Mr. Tim Johnson said, host other meetings in other districts also. And last but not least, all of this, what's going on with the police, across America, here in Johnston County, St. Peter's Disciples of Christ Church over Massey Street, East Smithfield, and my pastor is Bishop Richard Johnson. This Tuesday night at 7 o'clock is going to just kind of host an open dialogue. So definitely want to invite everybody to come out. I've already talked to Interim Chief Powell. He's going to be there. We're going to try to get some more law enforcement, but definitely, everybody that can come out and, let's just have some open dialogue. I know Friday I had a chance to talk to Lieutenant Abranovich, and, we had a, great conversation or whatever, and, even as I told him, I know it's tough every day to put on that uniform and, not knowing what, your day is going to bring. So, to the Chief Powell, as a community, we want to continue to support you all and, vice versa. Let's go ahead and open up some dialogue and, just let's keep doing things continuously and let's not wait to nothing happen. Let's just stay on the forefront. And, with your leadership right now and even past Interim Police Chief Mike Scott, let's continue, to go in the right direction. That's all my comments. It's going to be Tuesday night. I think that's the 19th. 19th at 7 o'clock. And last but not least, on this Saturday, we are having fun in the park again. So please, everyone, feel free to come out for some fun. Free food, games. This year, we kind of going to more of the back-to-school theme because a lot of our kids in East Smithfield, be it South Smithfield Elementary or West Smithfield, they're going to be going to school pretty much, in a couple of weeks. So, this year, we're just trying to give them kids a notebook, a book bag to be able to go back to school with on the first day. So, please come out and just have some fun. Thank you.
Well said, Marlon, thank you. Any other councilman comments?
I have a couple I'd like to make. The meeting was held at East Smithfield. I echo what Mr. Johnson said. I think, I actually talked to the manager about possibly hosting those in other areas. I think it's very beneficial. When time permits, I'd love for us to be able to get some real feedback from, the communities that other than, that haven't had a chance to say anything or, have concerns that they'd like to share. The other thing I remember, Mr. Johnson and Gary, you had started work at the Civitan field. I was just wondering if you could give us an update on that, where we're at with the Civitan.
Yeah, the first box didn't finish all the renovations with it last year.
I know that that's a appreciated area, and I appreciate y'all's efforts in getting that back in shape. So thank you. And the other thing, I'd like to extend a thank you to the staff, public safety, and the public utilities. When these storms come through, we had quite a few power outages, and they were out there in the dangerous conditions and got all that back going for us. So thank you.
Any others?
So real quick, Henry, and I promise, since I'm late.
Been on the road, man. We've been on the road now.
I know, right? Exactly. So I did want to echo what Councilman Scott said. I did receive an email from the county manager regarding our utility department. Thanking our utility department for the quick response and so forth in the recent storms. So I did want to pass that along. That was from the county manager. Again, my apologies for being late. It was not a coordinated effort to come in at this time. We just got back in, Tim and myself, along with a delegation of other municipal and county leaders from Covington, Georgia. We met with the local municipal and county leaders there. A huge pharmaceutical company, Baxter, now Shire, was built there, and we went there to talk with the leaders there to try to benchmark with them, to some lessons learned, and to try to prepare for what could be coming with the expansion at Novo. And we'll prepare something to share with the council, but I will say it was a very, very good meeting, and it was worthwhile. I actually wish that we had more representation from the county and from the municipalities there, because it was really a very, very good meeting. So anyway, that's where we've been. We've just gotten back in from traveling there. So thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading the meeting.
You want me to keep going?
Yes, sir, please.
Mike.
Since you're on such a roll.
It's your show. Town manager's report. By the way, do we need to amend the agenda for the mayor's comments? That's really not on the agenda. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just have a few items to bring to everyone's attention. We've had some questions about the police chief's position and how we're moving forward with that. We have accepted all the applications. A few more may trickle in as the application period remains open. We have narrowed the list at this time down to 7 people. Of those 7, we've sent out questionnaires to ask them to return to us by the middle of July. We've got a few of those back. After we receive those mid-July, we will do another review and narrow that list down further, and then proceed further with the testing process. As mentioned earlier, the police department had put in for a traffic grant for 2 additional staff with the state. That grant was not approved. No new funding is being presented this year to anyone in the state. So unfortunately, we'll have to look to next year to try to receive that grant money. Tim just came in. He can tell everybody that we have launched a new town website. Encourage everybody to take a look at it, go through it, play with it a little bit. A lot of great information, a lot of friendly information on there. We have had a few bugs in it over the weekend. We anticipated we would have, working through those and get those done, but in the end, we should have a really nice system for our citizens to interact with. Chief Blanton announced today that he's hired 3 new firefighters for his department under the monies allocated in the budget for this fiscal year. So they are out there doing their best to protect us and work through any type of emergency we might have. Last thing, the Smithfield Crossings project. The finance director informed me that he has put in for our last reimbursement amount of $250,000. Once we receive that money back, that will close out that project and we will be done with it. It's good news that we were able to submit that money. We were able to get to that point to do that and get that money reimbursed to us. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Mr. Manders, can I ask, where are we still on the buffer? Is there been any more?
On the buffer that's by Pine Acres there,
Right.
Our contract engineer has been working on that, and he has been off. He had some surgery. We talked to him today. He is, that would be Bill. He has talked to Mr. Etheridge, even though he's not really able to do too much yet. But he and I set up a couple of different days where we can meet with him. Mr. Etheridge has asked to meet with me personally, discuss some of his concerns. And we anticipate getting that done within the next couple of weeks. That's where we are.
Okay, any further questions of the manager? I move that we go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A6 to discuss a personnel matter.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.